Hey, Dad, do you want us behind you in here?
No, of course. Help us get our house.
Mara. Hi, how are you?
Hi, that's good to see you.
Yeah. Mom, do you want to sit here? 1, 3, and then maybe back here, you and Aunt Patty and Uncle Neil. Yeah. Bye.
That was
Yeah, she told me that she picked up blue. That was great.
is my grandmother's sister.
Give them to Mom.
Her built that. What's up? My mom's mother's sister.
Yeah, but I was 14 years there.
Oh, please. That office. As long as it's out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of concern up there.
Okay, do you want to sit?
No, yeah, I mean,
Take care of. I know, I don't think they put enough.
I think we're fine.
Because I can see. Do you need help? Hi, Sarah. Thank you for coming.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Good to go to.
Because my wife. That's why I was.
Okay.
Mara,
What?
did Lisa get in?
Aliza, yeah,
Yeah,
she
she's
got
here.
in, yeah.
Ladies and
She's like-
gentlemen, we'll be starting shortly, and I do invite you to, as much as you can, to gather close so that you'll be able to hear and also to surround RaeAnn's family with your support. So we will be starting just momentarily. At this time, if you've been asked to be a pallbearer, please meet us over at the code.
Huh? Nobody asked me.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah, nobody said anything.
Yeah.
You, Cheryl? Hi. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'll get back. No, it's, yeah, Mark.
Yes.
You said.
YouTube. YouTube channel, Feldman Mortuary YouTube channel.
Sit here. Mom, are you warm? You're good with the pocket. That's the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the far back, you're welcome to come and fill this area now. You might be able to hear a little bit better, but now that the casket's set, we have this big plowed out area if you like. And if I could remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones for the service. Davi Adonai roi lo echsa Bihino tesheyar vitzeini al memenu kod yenachalei Nafshi yeshove Nafshi yeshove Yancheni b'magalei tzedek leman shemo ki elech begeit almavet lo hirara ki ata imadi Shivtecha uminshantecha Shivtecha uminshantecha Ema yenachamuni Taroch lefanai shulchan Taroch lefanai shulchan Taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorera Dishanta v'shemen roshi Dishanta v'shemen roshi Dishanta v'shemen roshi Kosi revaya Tov, tov v'chesed, ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green pastures, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul. Adonai guards me in straight paths, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my foes. You've anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Ed and Vicky and Lee, Mark, and to your families, your children and grandchildren. The psalmist speaks of walking through the valley of the shadow of death. It is indeed a dark place. And yet we walk that path not alone, but with community, friends and family that are here to support you today, and many more who I'm sure could not be here on short notice. But please know that that valley opens up to new light, to joy that returns in the form of good memories shared with children and grandchildren and generations to come. And please know that we walk this path with you in the days and years ahead. The book of Proverbs says, Eshet chayil mi yimsa v'rachok mipnim michra. What a precious find is an Eshet chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good things. She is good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. Piha potcha b'chokhmah v'torat chesed al leshona. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Charm is deceitful and beauty vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Indeed, RaeAnn Lampert was an Eshet chayil, a woman of valor, whose deeds spoke for her values. She was, by a description of her family, a balabusta, which is Yiddish for balat habayit. She was the head of a household, a true matriarch of a loving family that looked to her for values, to look to her for love and joy. Apologize, just have to find my place here. We met just about an hour ago to prepare for this funeral, so the ink is hardly dry here. I'm missing a page. Oh, here we go. I apologize. RaeAnn was born to Lena and Morris Leoberg here in Denver, Colorado on February 12, 1933. She was truly a West Sider, multi-generations on the West Side. She grew up on Meade and Xavier. Her father died, unfortunately, very young. RaeAnn was just 12 years old, and her brother Philip was 7 years old at the time. She was raised by her mother, and in a loving, supportive community of West Side of Denver, where everyone knew one another, everyone spent time in each other's homes. And as she grew up, RaeAnn was the repository of the community's memory. She knew everybody, where everyone lived, what everyone did, what they liked to eat. She was a fountain of memory for the West Side community. She met her beloved Ed at a BBYO dance when she was just 13 years old, and Ed was about 16 at the time. They've been lifelong friends and companions, married for just over 71 years together. Ed and RaeAnn were married on November 29th, 1951 at the original Hebrew Educational Alliance on Colfax and Meade. In fact, their wedding was the last wedding held in that building before the Alliance moved to its Stewart Street location. Shortly after getting married, Ed had been in the National Guard, serving at Buckley, hoping to avoid the draft, but unfortunately he was drafted along with his National Guard unit. And this was during the Korean War conflict. And he did not serve in Korea, but instead served his time in active duty at Norman, Oklahoma at Tinker Air Force Base, where he worked as an electrician. And though it was far from the Jewish community of Denver, RaeAnn made friends with the other wives there. Many of the other soldiers serving with Ed were from his Phi Sig fraternity, other Jewish men who were serving together in the National Guard. And RaeAnn had her own community of women who formed Jewish community way out there in Norman, Oklahoma. After that time in Oklahoma, family moved back to Denver in 1952. And it was there that Ed and RaeAnn had Mark and Lee and Vicky. RaeAnn was a lifelong volunteer, and she taught her family the value of service to the community. She served on the Beth Israel Auxiliary. She served on the, she volunteered with the Jewish Consumptive Relief Society, with Rose Women's Auxiliary, which she served as the president of, and perhaps her most proudest volunteer work was with the Rose community, with the Rose Hospital gift shop that she helped to manage. She also was involved with B'nai B'rith Women, National Council of Jewish Women, and she was the PTA president at her kids' schools. At one point, she even started her own company selling lingerie. After having the experience managing the store for Rose and being a buyer for Rose, gave her the experience to start her own business. She was very proud of her West Side roots, and she was instrumental in organizing a large reunion that took place in 1985. And along with Mike Zellinger, she wrote the book that was dedicated to that reunion, memorializing the vibrant Jewish community of Denver's West Side. She stayed close to all of her friends growing up. In fact, she organized an 80th reunion of her preschool class, the kindergarten class of 1936 from Cheltenham. She was, as I said, a walking encyclopedia of Jewish geography, of Denver Jewish geography. She knew where everyone had lived. If you gave her the address on the west side, she could tell you all the people who had lived in that house. She supported her kids in their Jewish upbringing. In BBYO, she and Ed had been advisors and chaperones for trips and programs. They even created an award to honor the kids who didn't have necessarily elected leadership positions, but had exercised and shown leadership in their BBYO chapter. She passed along to her children and grandchildren the value of public service and service to the Jewish community. All of them have lived out those values as volunteers in their own ways. She was involved in the West Side Cookorama, and she herself, nothing gave her more joy than preparing a Shabbos table or a holiday table for her family. And she took in anybody who needed it. When families would buy a house, if a single person bought a house from Ann Lampert, she would invite over the single people to partake of Shabbat and holidays. She invited the kids' friends, and everyone was welcome at the Lampert home. She was a very organized cook and entertainer. RaeAnn and Ed enjoyed their lives together. They were always together, holding hands, sitting on the porch outside their home, greeting people as they went by. Everyone knew the Lamperts, and people walking their dogs or taking a walk in the neighborhood would stop by to chat with RaeAnn and Ed. In their retired years, they enjoyed travel together, took many cruises around the world. They did everything together. And growing up, they would take the kids on road trips. Ed and RaeAnn have been close their entire lives, since they were children. And in speaking with Ed in these weeks leading up to RaeAnn's passing, I know that he will miss her very much, and always hold on to that love and friendship of a lifetime. This time I'd like to invite Mara and Micah forward. We'd also like to share some words.
Thank you, Rabbi. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much to everyone who came out on such short notice. It means a lot to us. I just have a few remarks I'd like to share. I'm Mara. I'm the second oldest grandchild, and my grandmother, Ma, as we called her, if you knew her, you knew she loved two things: her family and to talk. When I was younger, I used to be called Little Raz. If you knew her, if you know me, you know that I also love two things: family and to talk. My family, my family would talk, hence the name Little Raz. It was suggested to me to share a few memories. A few? How about a book full? From going to get our nails and hair done to trips to Vail. We did it all. Except I decided not to go for the big red hair, but I think she understood. One thing I know we can all agree on is that Mom loved her grandchildren, and she would have loved her great-grandchild when we were hoping she would get to meet later this year, as my husband and I are adopting a baby, and we were hoping she'd get to know. We know that with help from her, we will find a child for us, and that she is finally at peace. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming again today. I'm Micah. I'm the oldest grandchild. For those of you who know me, I love two things: family, and the other one, talking is not one of those things. So I'm going to keep it brief. I just wanted to come up here and tell a story really fast and end this off on hopefully a little bit of laughter. A few years ago, my mom had mentioned to me that the toilet upstairs, her guest toilet upstairs, had been running for a few weeks now and it hadn't been fixed yet. So I turned to my brother and I said, why don't we go over there and fix it? It'll just be really easy, really fast. First off, if you know plumbing, that's the last thing you should say, because it was neither of those things. We went, fixed the toilet. It, of course, fought us in every way it could. And when we were done, Ma and Poppy were sitting down. If you've been to their house, they have a little office that the two of them always sit in. They have a TV on and they just sit and talk. And we go in there and we sit down with them and we're talking. Now, this was right when Ma had first been diagnosed. So her memory wasn't bad, but it wasn't 100% either. And she turns to Poppy and she says, Ed, pay them. I said, no, Ma, we don't need to pay this. And she said, no, Ed, pay them. So Poppy pulls out his wallet and gives us each $20. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anytime you want us to help, call us over. 4 or 5 minutes go by and Ma turns to Ed or Poppy and she says, Ed, did you pay them? Yeah, I paid them. And no, you didn't pay them. I was sitting right here. And I said, Ma, she paid us. No, he didn't. Ed paid them. And if you know her, she says it just like that too. So Poppy pulls out his wallet, gives each of us $20. Another few minutes go by. Ed, did you pay them yet? Yes. No, you didn't. And that's just the clean version of it. So then it starts, and this keeps going and going. And at that point, I'm handing $20 bills back to Poppy under the table. And unfortunately, Ma caught me. And said, Ed, give me your wallet. And she takes his wallet, takes all the money out of it, and gives it to us. So Poppy was out almost $400 that day. I told him he should have called a plumber. It would have been cheaper. Anyway, that is what it was like to be with Mom and Poppy. So again, I want to thank all of you for coming. And
it's always lovely to hear from grandchildren. I think there's a very special relationship that grandchildren have to their grandparents. And I want to share a few other recollections that some of the other grandkids shared with me briefly before we came over. I knew RaeAnn some as a congregant, and the image of her of an elegant lady who always coordinated her clothing. Her grandchildren were telling me about how she coordinated the color of her nails with her glasses and her outfit, and how she always told them, I think Vicky said this earlier, she didn't mind telling even strangers, you'd look a little better if you wore some lipstick. But she loved her grandchildren and spent one-on-one time with each of them, supporting them in their individual hobbies and interests, always there for sporting, competitions, school plays, whatever awards and graduations they received. Her advice to her granddaughters were, don't get married unless you're sure and you're very happy, and always keep your own money. I think that's an indication of the kind of independence she wanted for her granddaughters, especially. Like I said, she spent quality time with each of them. And as Micah said, she had a spiciness to her and a humor that she didn't restrain. And I know, as Mara said, that her memory will live on in her grandchildren, and God willing, be passed along to great-grandchildren in the future. She will be remembered lovingly by her children, Mark and Ruth, Lee and Patty, Vicky and Neil, by her grandchildren, Mara and Mara's husband, Nathaniel, Eliza and Marco, Robert Lampert, Micah Oleski and Alana, Leandra Oleski, Hyla Oleski, Sephra and Noah, and Avram. May RaeAnn's memory be a blessing. May she rest in peace. And let us say amen. In our tradition, the burial of our loved ones is sometimes called chesed shel emet, the highest form of kindness that we can show another human being, because it is a kindness for which we can never be repaid, for which we can never be thanked. And it is a mitzvah, a sacred obligation on each and every one of us, on family and on community, to see to the burial of a loved one. And that's why we each participate actively in the burial. In a moment, we'll lower the casket, and I will invite family first and then the community to participate in covering the grave. For those of you that might not be familiar, it's customary to place at least 3 shovelfuls of earth in the grave. Some people have a custom of using the back of the spade for the first shovelful as a sign of reluctance. And it's customary to return the shovel to the mound of earth so that each person has the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah themselves. And then during the burial, we also will be performing kriya, the tearing of garments. And at this time, we'll ask cemetery staff to lower the casket. וישוב העפר על הארץ כשהיה, והרוח תשוב אל האלוהים אשר נתנה. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May RaeAnn Lampert's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Send comfort, Adonai, to those who mourn. Grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. And let us say amen. We invite the community to come to either side of the grave and to participate in the Gvura and the burial. I want to make a special mention also, and on behalf of RaeAnn's family, to thank and bless RaeAnn's caregivers who lovingly took care of her, Abby and Ganed and Kedushan. We thank you and bless you on behalf of RaeAnn's family for the service that you gave and the love with which you gave it. Stand up. Stay right there. Give you a little sniff there. Praise are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, who is the judge of truth. Adonai Natan, Adonai Laka, Yehishim, Adonai Nevorah. Adonai has given life, and life returns to Adonai. Praise be the name of God forever.
Shir Lamalot, Asa Inaya Vuharim, Nakai Yavo Ezri, Ezri Meim Adonai, Osishamayim Ba'aretz, Al Yitem Lamot Radlecha, Al Yadim Shamecha, Minei Lo Yadim Velo Yishem Shemei Yisrael, Adonai Shemecha, Adonai Tzlecha, Al Yad Yinecha, Yaman Hashem Shlo Yakecha, Yareach Balayla, Adonai Yishmorecha, Yishmorecha, Yitorah, Yishmor Et Nafshecha. I turn my eyes to the mountains, and where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm and guard your life. Adonai guards your going and coming now and forever. We'll continue filling the grave for a few more minutes. In the meantime, I'd like to let you all know that RaeAnn's family will be receiving visitors after the funeral today until 8 o'clock this evening. There will be a minyan infirmary at 4:30 p.m. That is at 7140 East Exposition Avenue, just a little bit west of Quebec. Visitation will continue throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, 2 to 8 p.m. every day, with minyan at 4:30. And the family will also be receiving visitors on Friday until 3:30 in the afternoon. Again, minyan every day, starting this afternoon and Thursday, at 4:30 p.m. 7140 East Expedition. Once we conclude the service, I will invite the community to create 2 lines facing one another. We call these shurot, to escort the family back to their vehicles. This is a gesture of our surrounding you all with our love and support in the path ahead. Jim? Shokan Bam Gomi Amitamenukanekona Tapakante Ashkina Emalot Kirushimu Teori Zarakia Mati Ed Nishmat Rezo Henka Bad Moshele Bekinka Leia Shal Kale Olama Began Eden Tehem Nukata Anabalarachami Sirea Besetek Mafecha Leolami Rutzroy Bishrakim Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tamuach V'Shalom Al Mishkava V'Nomar Amen. Amale Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of RaeAnn Lampert, known in our tradition as Rezel Henka, but Moshe Leib, the Henka Leah, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May RaeAnn's soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us say amen.
Conclude by offering traditional words of consolation, comfort, loving, among all who mourn for Zion's. We ask now that the community form Shirot, the 2 lines over here. We're going to bring Ed back and around that way, and the family. Okay.
Maybe I'll just have everybody.